We all think about sales to make our business thrive, but we can completely miss the value of bringing human connections that make those sales happen. In this episode, we're talking about the power of video testimonials, how to make the videos and how they can transform your business by attracting new clients from the power of relating versus a simple try to close the deal approach. In this episode, I pulled in the experts on video testimonials, or at least half of the pair of experts that I go to. He's talking about how to make them, how to ask for testimonials, and what to talk about. I'm Deborah Atkinson. You're listening to She Means Fitness Business. It's a division of Voice for Fitness, my overarching business. And at She Means Fitness Business, we all believe that you deserve to wake up every day and work with clients that you love and have a thriving and profitable business doing it. But I know that there could be a gap there, and I know that very well because at 49, with 30 years of experience and having been very successful in a mid-six-figure life with no debt, I started over. And I had to put everything that I had been teaching for years about sales and marketing strategy to the test. So for several years, it was a little lean. And I'm not talking about my body composition. And there were a lot of tears and blood sweat to go with that so that you don't have to. But I went from zero revenue coming in. In fact, you might say less than that because there was a lot of expense when there was very little revenue coming in. I'd severed all ties. I said goodbye to the regular paycheck, to the TIAA fund, to the benefits, the very flexible schedule, and wanted to build my own business. And indeed I did, but it took a while. And I was able to go from zero to six-figure months, not years. And you can too. And in this episode, you're going to hear about one of the strategies that I've employed. And it took me a long time to actually use a professional, but you should not wait that long. So before we go any further, I would love for you to go over to fitnessmarketingacademy.com/scorecard and get my 2-minute scorecard. It's a self-assessment. So you can look at maybe why your business isn't growing, why it isn't scaling, why you're spending so much time, you're so busy, but you don't have much to show for it. It'll show you right away where you have gaps and how to start fixing them. My guest today is Dan Lievens. He's a born entrepreneur, founder of 11 businesses in a variety of industries, ranging from information technology, finance, and health and wellness companies. He has played integral roles throughout his career, driving business realignment with domestic and international growth. Born to a Taiwanese mother and Dutch father, he spent his youth traveling the world as the son of a diplomat for the Belgian government, raised all over Southeast Asia. Dan was educated in British, French, Dutch, and Chinese schools. His university education began in Singapore, which eventually led him to America, where, of course it would, where he received his MBA from Penn State. Dan is well known for his rapid, nimble, and strategic execution with a broad understanding of technology, business, and marketing. As a pioneer, or an early pioneer, he built the first co-working facility in Philadelphia, where he assisted hundreds of early and mid-stage companies in analyzing business demands, providing solutions based on clear market drivers to help take their business to the next level. Today, his primary focus is rooted in advancing the cause for purpose-driven businesses and organizations eager to elevate the world we share. He's the founder and CEO of Share One, the household name for helping businesses capture and use video testimonials to drive growth. And that is exactly what we're talking about today. Dan, thanks so much for being here.
Deborah, what an honor to be on here with you. I know you've been up to so many amazing things, so thank you for having me, and I look forward to sharing some expertise and having a great conversation with you today.
Well, and side note, I have to say this, that for every couple who's working together in our industry in any way, I love it. Like, to me, that is like the epitome of like happy life, because I've always thought, you know, to have someone that you're working beside and then you're living beside. I know that's probably complicated not to talk about work all the time, but I also think we're often so passionate about what it is we do, and sometimes we're behind the scenes and people don't actually understand what we do, where it's built in. You've got that going on. So I love that you're working with Stacy and you're in it together.
That's probably a whole different podcast about how you can manage working with your significant other. But yeah, it is really beautiful as an entrepreneur being able to
Mhm.
create your own things and being able to create the vision and seeing it to fruition. It's almost like having a baby, you know?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yes, it is. Okay. Can't spank him and put him down for a nap, though. So there's that.
Or get a babysitter yet.
Yes, this is so true. So I have to ask, what first got you into doing video testimonials?
Absolutely. So I actually started one of the first co-working facilities in Philadelphia back in the day, really assisting and having this vision to assist entrepreneurs first find what it is that their purpose is and what their gifts are to the world, and figuring out a way to help them monetize and live a life full of passion and purpose.
Mhm.
And I was basically working on strategic planning, giving them resources, affordable resources, shared resources, and all that. Slowly got into business incubation and business acceleration programs with the county and all that. But what I realized pretty quickly on is that the rate of failure is huge. And the rate of failure is not usually due to the idea being bad.
Mhm.
It's usually the inability to communicate the value proposition to the right audience. And that's when this light bulb went off and said, hey, if I want to help more people, I think my gifts are more aligned towards helping them communicate better. In other words, marketing and sales. So that's when I started diving into video work, and we had a full video studio and photo studio along with Stacy. She's a master photographer. We had
Mhm.
stages and live audiences and cameras and all that. And then the pandemic hit, right? So
Yeah.
luckily we were able to sell everything, and we migrated over to virtual recordings, kind of like what we're doing now.
Mhm.
And it's been a blessing in disguise in terms of people being able to accept this form of communication as the standard. And instead of charging a lot of money creating high-end video productions, we quickly realized that at the end of the day, what businesses need the most is social proof and human connection. So how do you build trust? And especially today in the age of AI and the overwhelm of information that we get through all of our channels, at the end of the day, what's really, really, really going to help a business is for somebody to be able to see somebody else having gone through that transformation and be able to tell
Mhm.
that story. And that's what's really going to help you move the needle in terms of communicating your value proposition.
Yeah, I
So,
love that. I love everything you said, and I want to be totally transparent with, well, potentially with you, but with our listeners, that the proposed title for this episode included something about human connection, and I had to change it because my words to my assistant were, this is great. This is what we need. But nobody wakes up in the middle of the night thinking, "Oh my god, I have to have human connection." They wake up thinking, "I have to have sales." So I had to, and I want everybody to understand this. I had to change it to the problem that really is giving you the pain, thinking I need to make sales, but I need to make sales easier because I hate sales, and getting your ideal customer. You'll notice now, if you go to the title of the show, it's all there. We're leading with video testimonials. But the way you're going to do that is through human connection. And it takes people a long time, if ever. Do you agree? To get to the realization that the people who are doing it well are making human connection.
yeah, you are speaking my language, speaking my pain points about, I think it was Lisa Sasevich that coined a word of how do you paint your door, right? So that's the typical thing in marketing, is the way that you paint your door is how do you attract people that are walking down the street to say, oh, I'm interested in that.
Mhm.
Let me knock on that door. And once you're in the door, then you can unleash all the beautiful words such as human connection and transformation and all those types of things.
Yeah.
So how we paint the door is critical. And at the end of the day, yes, it is human. It is human connection and
Mm-hmm.
being able to. I think it was Dr. Robert Cialdini that says, there are two types of people in the world, right? There's the 95% of the people who are imitators, and there's 5% of people who are initiators. And essentially, what that means is 95% of the consumers out there won't make a decision on pulling the trigger on something until they see somebody else do it.
Mm.
Right? And there's this whole mirror neuron in our heads, if you want to get scientific, about what happens in our brains when we actually see somebody else do something as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to being told what to do. And that ultimately is that human connection. And I think, even as I mentioned earlier, with the overwhelm of AI and today being able to create avatars and just content is being devalued. And I think there is going to be this huge revolution against, hey, what are the humans saying versus, what's being generated? And I think more so than ever going forward, the human connection part is going to be a critical component in being able to attract your right customers and being able to get them to take action.
I so agree. I so agree. And I also feel like sometimes when we first go into business, and many of you listening are not for the first time in business, but maybe for the first time in business for yourself. And I know for me that changed everything, and I had been doing what I'm doing for 30 years, but then all of a sudden I wasn't doing it for somebody else and promoting somebody else's business. I was promoting my own. And all of a sudden I got this like imposter syndrome and I shrunk a little bit. Like it was so much easier to promote other trainers, working underneath me than to toot my own horn for a while. That was hard. And it becomes this trick of somebody could just say, "Oh, I need video testimonials," and then like hang up and go away. Don't do that right now, by the way, because I want to ask you, Dan, could there be a bad video testimonial?
And in our case, not so much. And that's what I love about my company and what I've realized. Let me just back up. So Share
Hmm.
One was created
Hmm.
almost 2 years ago, and then the Share One vision initially was I had this image. So I have a 15-year-old and an 18-year-old, and I see them on social media, and I'm on social media too for business and other reasons. And all the content is geared around people's weaknesses and also addiction to certain types of content out there. And to me, my vision was, what would it look like if
Hmm.
every single human being on the planet were given an opportunity to share one experience that transformed their lives?
Wow.
If we were to flood all of our channels with these types of experiences, I think we'd be living in a very different world. So I named the company Share One, right?
Beautiful. I've never heard that.
So it's hard to collect a video testimonial from somebody that's unhappy. So
Mm.
our invitation process and all this is really about highlighting somebody's transformation, and then the way we invite them is we don't typically go out and ask for a video testimonial. It's always about, man, I really admired the transformation and the
Yeah.
journey that you've gone through in the last 6 months, whether it's health based or losing weight or whatever that is. And your story can impact and influence and inspire so many people out there. Would you be open to meeting with one of my producers to capture your story and create that ripple effect out there?
Hmm.
Right. So that's the invitation. And we really kind of want to stay on that positive thread of content, at least for our company.
Well, and yeah, and you've nailed it. And that I want to point out the difference. There are a lot of people listening, I think, who find, oh, I shouldn't, I can think of a couple great ideal customers who've gotten great results, but I never captured that. And they feel awkward about going and asking or going back and asking. But I think there's a huge difference in the ask you just gave. So if someone out there is really savvy and you're not already ahead of me, you should listen to that again with your Otter.ia because he just gave you gold right there. There is a way that you ask. But and you don't have to give this part away. There's also a way that you conduct that meeting, that interview with them to get the answers that do the most good. How did you arrive at all those?
So we call that the story formula. And what we've noticed is most people that, first of all, they're not skeptical, but they're shy, camera shy, like who's not, right?
Right.
Um, and and they don't know what to say. So the way we look at a video testimonial is we kind of reverse engineer everything. So once you become a client of Share One, the first step is we look at your business, we look at your audience, we look at your avatars, so the typical people that you serve and you want to continue serving. We look at the pain points and we look at the objections. And from there we say, okay, what's the piece of content that's really going to help somebody click on buy now, or schedule the call now? And those are typically, as I said, like objections, right? So by knowing what the objections are and by knowing where they are exactly in that part of the journey, then we formulate the interview to address those points. So for example, if we're to interview you right now, Deborah, we'd say, let's say price is an objection. We'd ask the question, hey, when you first started thinking about working with us, price might have been an objection. Like, how'd you feel about that? Right. So we're controlling the narrative a little bit. And the soundbite that we're actually looking for is when I first started working with Deborah, when I first considered working with Deborah, I thought it would be expensive. She doesn't take insurance or whatever the objections are. But little do I know, 6 months later, I can play with my grandkids. I have my health back, and that is worth more than anything in my life. Right. So that little soundbite is strategically positioned through that question. So those are the types of questions that we use. And also people love stories. So being able to take somebody through a hero's journey. So you'll see most of our videos are before I started, what was my life like, pain points, and all those things, typically what other people can relate to. And then how'd you find out about this program or this service? What happened when you started joining the service? And what's the transformation, right? That's the whole hero's journey. And people, the feedback that we've received from everybody that's gone through, and we've done thousands of videos at this point, thousands of video testimonials, is they love being told or being guided into what to say. So our 15 to 20 minute conversations then get edited down to 2 or 3 minutes for a powerful video testimonial. And to go back to what you said earlier, the difference between the invitation is critical. So we are super, super proud to say that we have a 47% success rate from the time that you identify somebody that you want a video testimonial from to the time that they actually book a interview with us. So out of 10 people, we'll probably end up recording, 4 or 5 interviews. And I can guarantee you that most people aren't raising their hands and say, sure, I'll do a video for you. No, it's all in the invitation. It's all in how we make them feel. And I usually use the example of ultimately, it's like if I said, hey, I'm going to send a news crew to your house tomorrow to cover your life story, right? How do you feel about that? At least at first, maybe a little bit nervous, but at the end of the day, it's like, whoa, I'm being highlighted. I'm being honored. Somebody cares about my story, and I can potentially inspire somebody else. That's kind of emotion that we want to get in the invitation. So yeah, go back and honor that.
Yeah, definitely do. It's so good. And I know personally total transparency, everybody. Dan and Stacy have done mine through Share One, and I love them. I mean, I've tried, and for years I thought I can do this myself. I should do this myself. I know how to do it. I know the questions to ask, and then I didn't do it. Didn't do it. Having a third party do it changes everything.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
And even for your people, believe it or not, they're going to feel awkward that you're doing the interview.
Exactly.
Right. It's so much easier when we use the word, hey, meet with one of my producers.
Yeah.
So it becomes like a casual conversation.
Yeah.
And they are not forced to say things, or did I say this properly? I didn't really follow the program on week 7, and they feel bad or whatever that is. So being able to have a third party do it is just takes a lot of that burden off. not just you, but all out of your clients as well, for sure.
Yeah, totally. And, I think you mentioned you use a storyboard, like you're using this, like where were they? What happened? How do they find me? Objections, transformation. But in that interview, your customer, everybody listening who's telling this story, literally that's all they're doing. They're telling the story to the person that they've never met before. And that just becomes easy. It's like, you're standing in line and at a conference and you're sharing, this is what happened to me. And it's new and authentic as they tell it. Unlike if they were telling it to you, you already know the answers. So yeah, I absolutely love it. I to everybody here, I think many of us are doing this, and I don't know how you feel about this. Is this a good and? Yeah, but a lot of people are doing, a screenshot of a Facebook comment so that they can show at least it's authentic and really done by an individual. They didn't make it up and just put a quote in there on their website. What's the difference in the value of screenshots of Facebook comments versus the video testimonial?
That's a really, really good question. Right off the bat, let me just say that recent research has shown that 82% of consumers have some kind of suspicion towards Google, Yelp, or any of these even reputable platforms that have reviews. Amazon today employs 12,000 full-time employees just to track down fake reviews. So anything written is not taken seriously. And let me ask you this question, right? So if you go to somebody's website and they have a whole page full of text, screenshots, or written
Mm,
text on testimonials, what happens to you during that decision process is check. This person has testimonials. Nobody
mm,
really spends the time to read through all of those. So when it comes to a video testimonial, they're actually immersed in somebody's story. And that's the power of video, is being able to go through that hero's journey as we described. And then typically we try and interview people that are like your audience, right? So whoever your
yeah,
avatar is,
yeah.
whoever your typical people are that you want to work with, those are the people that we want to interview. So the perfect example is if I'm sitting here and I'm shopping for, let's say, a black t-shirt with the red buttons, and I see a video testimonial and somebody's sitting there wearing a black t-shirt and red buttons and looks like me, then I'm sold, right? And then if I start watching a story and I really kind of, it's like watching a movie. And I think there's this fun exercise of, and I've heard this from different people saying, hey, um, picture the last effective piece of marketing that you remember, the last piece of effective, whatever it is, a sales or a marketing piece. 9 times out of 10, people are going to go back to some kind of video or a TV ad. It's that story, right? So not only are we giving people credibility that, hey, this is a real human being, but you're also immersing yourself in this beautiful story. So by the time you're done, it registers completely different in your mind. So video testimonials on any website or on any digital form of email marketing, whether it's your emails, landing pages, sales page, social media,
Hmm.
have an upwards of 62% in conversion rate just by introducing video testimonials. So you can see your conversion rates go through the roof when you start
Yeah.
using video testimonials.
Yeah, all over the place. Yeah. And you've been instrumental in suggesting places for me where to do them. Although I have to throw this in. So you were talking there and you said something about, any of the more reputable platforms. I was thinking, is that not an oxymoron anyway? Reputable platforms. Okay. Sorry, I just got lost in that one. I love the idea of video, and I've used it. I save it for a promotion until it's one of those final emails, the ones that really move people, because I think that client on the fence can see themselves in that person. And, it's why I will put in 2 and sometimes 3 in the same email. And so the content really is that there's not much text on it, but those are sometimes we can see that email went out and we can see the number of sales go up from that directly. It's amazing how much it's a yeah, click. I was hesitant. Now I've heard what I need to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. And then let's not get too carried away with video testimonials as well. We do everything through similar to Zoom. We use Riverside, Zencaster, doesn't matter what platform you use. But being able to capture people in their comfort of their homes or offices or even using their cell phones is so much more powerful
Mhm.
because it's authentic. And
Yeah.
that's something that I personally I'm grateful for the pandemic again in terms of being able to use this format here. And I mean, even if you go to somebody's website and you see a video testimonial and you can tell there's like two camera angles and really good lighting and microphones and B-roll and all that,
Yeah.
people question that. They're like, who paid who to create this thing, right?
That's
So
true.
being able to conduct something like this with very little editing gives that certain feel of authenticity, and that's what we strive for.
That is so good. Yeah. That's a great point. What to the health and fitness professionals sitting here, I think sometimes their internal conversation can go like, I feel awkward asking my clients, or my clients would never do that. And and to that I would have to say, you have no idea how much they love you. But, what's your overcomer? I think you gave it in the script in the way you ask, but what's your overcomer to someone who's thinking, that why me? Why would they do that for me?
I think, especially in the health and wellness field, and the majority of our clients are in health and wellness, especially functional, holistic, slightly alternative things that aren't going to your doctor or to allopathic care. Is when you have your health, you have everything, and it's such a shift in mindset. So if I'm finally healthy and I can do things that I wasn't able to do before, I want to shout out the rooftops, right? You go to the grocery store or you go out in the world and you see people that are suffering, that are unhealthy, and they're in this hamster wheel of a broken cycle of things. Like, you want to do something about that. And the way you need to see it is you're giving them an avenue to be able to influence and to be able to inspire somebody else. At the end of the day, to be human is really what fulfills us the most, is being able to inspire and help other people.
Mhm.
And you're basically giving them an avenue to be able to do that. So you're actually doing them a disservice if you weren't allowing them to give them an ability to inspire other people. And that's really the theme of our invitation, the theme of the way we conduct our interviews. And yes, they do want to talk about it. If you're doing something good, they do want to talk about it, and you're actually doing them a favor.
That is really amazing. I'm so glad you said that. So, a couple of things popped into my mind, and I want to come back to ask you because you've done so many, you probably witnessed so many testimonials, but in my community, it's not necessarily an individual who, because listeners, I think we can all agree on this. I mean, the number one reason people will start maybe health coaching or a fitness program is weight loss. Even though we talk about muscle and sarcopenia and osteoporosis and bone density, we talk about these necessary things for aging well. Vanity wins. Vanity wins. And that's a health concern as well, but it's still about really how we look. And yet those are not necessarily the best testimonials. The best ones that I can think of are, say, a very overweight woman telling her story, and she's still fairly overweight. People enjoy seeing her get up and do it again and again, not looking perfect yet, being in the messy middle and on the journey. She's not where she wants to be, but she's there talking about the success she's had, at least up to now. It's interesting that, somebody may be 100 pounds yet from their goal, but those are the testimonials that people will comment on. This was so inspiring. I would love to ask you, you've seen so many. What is there something, a couple of testimonials that stick out in your head from any industry, really?
So I always say that there's always an audience for you. No matter who you are or what level of experience you have, there's always an audience for you. And the reason I say that is because if I'm looking at the before and afters of your typical weight loss programs and somebody's overweight and then they turn into this Hulk looking six pack, really fit person, that's not realistic to me. Right. So being able to capture those so authentic stories, again, it comes to the black t-shirt and the red button. It's like that relatability,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you have to meet people where they're at. And if somebody is sitting at home and they have low energy and they're a little bit overweight, and they see somebody else in that same situation slowly crawl out of that mindset and that physical restraint, those are the ones that are going to resonate with me, right?
Yeah.
So being able to collect testimonials where you meet people where they are is absolutely the most powerful. To answer your question, man, there's so many amazing testimonials, and a lot of people just break down and get so emotional
Mm.
because of what they can do. It's not necessarily how great the program is or the what's. We're so good at talking about what we do. Even this morning, we had a client, and I went to their website. It's like, we do this. This is how we do it. This is our process. We, right?
Mm.
Okay, good. It's informational.
Yeah.
But when it comes to things like this, it's always about them.
Mm-hmm.
What's in it for them?
Mm-hmm.
And to see somebody on here that's completely relatable, talk about their hero's journey, talk about their struggles and where they're at right now is beyond powerful. My favorite ones are always around the surprise outcome. So yes, let's take weight loss, for example. Yes, I lost 25 pounds or however many pounds, but the surprise outcome is that, I'm getting up earlier and I'm having quality time with my children before they go to school, right? Those little nuggets of now my life has changed because I can do these things.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the little things that people immediately like just registers in their brains. Like, well, I want that too.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So those are typically the most powerful ones.
So good. I love it. Yeah. I think those real life stories, I think people are looking for, she can do it, I can do it kind of moments, and that she's out there and she's not perfect. So maybe it's an I don't have to be either kind of moment. And I don't have to, she's putting herself out there, so I don't have to live up to some kind of standard. I think that's what people find the most inspiring, is just the downright honest, here's where I'm at kind of thing. So good. Dan, will you tell everybody where they can learn more about you, learn more about Share One, and how they could get started?
Absolutely. Well, our website is Share One, so it's www.share.one. So ONE, there's no com or anything. And then on there, you'll see hundreds of samples of video testimonials. You'll see case studies, success stories. And we also have a free trial. So if you want to try out our services, you're welcome to do that. And that's available on our website as well. But Deborah, I want to just touch on one thing real quick, if that's okay.
Of course.
We talked about painting the door and how you get people interested in things. I want everybody to know that we're painting our door with video testimonials. So is this podcast, just because we know what that is.
Mm-hmm.
But we want people to think out of the box when it comes to video testimonials. So a lot of times, by the way, we never use the word video testimonials when we do the invitations and the productions and all that. Mm-hmm. One really cool way, if you still feel a little bit awkward about, I don't think my clients are going to want to do that, then create some kind of a themed campaign, right? So, celebrating 50 or something like that. Like create something that people are like, wow, this is almost like an award that I'm winning, and I'm being featured as having had this accomplishment, right? So if I were to say to you, hey, we've got this campaign, this global movement, and we're honoring women over 50 that have really transformed their lives and are now up to something amazing and impactful, and we'd like to highlight you, right? That's a whole
So,
different way of looking at it.
yeah.
And then during that highlight, of course, we talk about their transformation. We talk about everything they've done. And we can obviously say, what program did you sign up for, and throw a little bit of testimonial in there. But at the end of the day, it's the same content,
Yeah.
right? So it's just a
Yeah.
different way of looking at things.
That is beautiful. Yeah. And that is the creative mind. That's just one of them. There's another one right behind share one, everyone. So I want you to come over. And also, though, I want you to come over to the show notes for today, because I'm going to put 2 of the testimonials that share one created for me inside of show notes. So for today, that'll be at fitnessmarketingacademy.com/video testimonials. What else? And there you have it. And what are you waiting for? The world needs you right now more than ever.